Hello and welcome. Tomorrow night is the Europa League semi-final. I can't quite believe that I'm able to say this on this channel in a way that involves West Ham. But you know how it goes here. We like to talk about the opposition, get involved in it before the game. And because he got it so bang on the first time, so just straight down the matter of fact, just nailed it. We had to bring it back. Alex, the Euro expert, how are you, sir? How are things?
I've kept my house. I haven't lost it.
You nailed it. You nailed it.
There was a few tweets from some really very kind fans of the channel here. Appreciate you messaging me, but I didn't appreciate you saying today's the day. It's on the line. Yeah, I'm glad to be back on the channel. I hope the people watching will appreciate the fact that I've ran home from London, and that explains my hair, which I have been trying to sort out for the past 10 minutes. Unfortunately, you're going to have to deal with this while we talk about Frankfurt.
I wouldn't worry too much about it. You have me and Danny who are on the exact opposite scales of hair. So if anything, you look completely and utterly normal.
I am ginger though, so that's a problem.
It happens. Do you know what I mean? It happens. Right, let's talk about Frankfurt. Let's talk about the opposition. How is their season going overall, would you say?
Yeah, bit of an odd one. I think they're as close to Bayern Munich as they are to 18th place Greuther Fürth, which is bottom place in the Bundesliga. Mm-hmm. I think it's 13 points and 15 points each way. Really odd team. To give you a brief overview, last season they were managed by Adi Hütter, which is a name you've probably heard of because he was there for quite a while. They finished 5th last year, and this year they're under the tutelage of Oliver Glasner, who is an Austrian coach. Some people think he's German. Was at Wolfsburg last year, and that matters because Wolfsburg, they were quite a big team last year. Finished 4th with Weghorst, now at Burnley. Lacroix, who's been linked to teams like Chelsea. Counter-attacking team, really had a strong defence, and that's what Glasner's tried to put at Frankfurt. And I think that'll be quite a key theme in this game. And to really visualise that, Frankfurt last year, they held about 55% of the ball average, one of the top ball teams in the Bundesliga. This year, they're below the 50% mark. Shows how they're quite direct. And while they haven't really got any major talents besides one certain left midfielder, I'm sure you're going to ask me about, lots of hard-working runners, direct players that are really it's more of a system team, this team, rather than any proper they're relying on individual quality. But yeah, despite that as well, if anyone's been watching them magically in the Bundesliga this year, caught a game and you thought they look crap, as any European football fan will tell you, genuinely bipolar team, completely different in the Europa League as they are in the Bundesliga.
I think, I don't know, I haven't seen anything of Frankfurt this year. When I think of Frankfurt, I still think of that sort of free-flowing, free-scoring Frankfurt of 2, 3, 4 years ago, which had, of course, Rebic, Jovic, and a guy called Sebastian Haller up front. And that's the Frankfurt I think. But then when I've been looking into them this season, and I haven't watched any of their games, so I can't talk about what I've actually seen. But statistically, apart from one specific midfielder who we will get onto, they're kind of bang average. It's like you say, there are some games where, for example, if we look at XG as an example, some games where they have an insanely high XG, you're like, bloody hell. And then you have other games where they've practically not taken a shot. And I feel weird asking this question because they're still, like you say, they're as mid-table as they are. It's possible to be in the Bundesliga right now. So I feel weird saying that given the fact that they're in a semi-final, but what went, quote unquote, what's gone wrong for them? Why are they in the situation they're in currently?
Yeah, that's an important question to ask. I think it's not necessarily something that's gone wrong this year. I think it's more they've been left behind it in the Bundesliga. I mean, the stats you've mentioned there, if anyone doesn't know, expected goals, it's the measure of the quality of chances a team creates. And for that metric, they're about 10th in the Bundesliga for non-penalty goals registered. So non-penalty XG registered. So it shows they're not creating much at one end. And also defensively, they've conceded 43 goals, which is around 6th or 7th, same amount as Dortmund, which doesn't sound too bad until you remember Dortmund might as well have no defence and were knocked out by Rangers in the quarterfinals or the round of 16. So yeah, I will say as well though that they can grind out a win. They tend to really win or lose 3-2 or draw 0-0. And again, I've noted down their form against the likes of Bayern, Leipzig, Dortmund, Bayer Leverkusen, sort of the big teams in the Bundesliga, and it's loss, win, draw, win, loss, loss, draw. So it's quite mixed, but it shows they have the capabilities to surprise. And really, to answer your question, mate, it's just I don't think they're consistent. But of course, in cup games, in competition, knockout games, consistency doesn't necessarily matter, as you saw with Lyon, that Lyon side that you kind of wrecked in France, getting to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, and as you can tell by Frankfurt over the course of the competition, struggling to some extent in the Bundesliga, just like you say, sometimes great, sometimes bad, and yet they rock up at the new camp and were 3-0 up until about 5 minutes to go, or whatever it was. It was 3-2 in the end, but Barcelona scored at the death. One of their second goal was like the last kick of the game kind of thing. So you've mentioned the fact that they're a sort of stylistic team, and you've touched on it a couple of times there. What are we expecting? I've seen the last couple of games them playing 3 at the back. Is that something we're going to expect? Is that what they've been doing for the rest of the season? What's their style? What's their formation? What should we be looking for?
Yeah, good point. It's definitely going to be a back three. It's what they've used for the past 3 seasons, really. 3-4-2-1, and we'll touch on them now. A lot of the play goes down the wing backs. There's one called Axel Nauf, who was at Dortmund last few years. He's interesting, but not interesting enough to care about here. It's Kostic, the one we really want to talk about, on the left. He's got 21 Bundesliga assists since the start of last season. I think he had about 15 the year before that. And it really is that has been inflated by set pieces, but he has scored some brilliant goals. I think it was a goal against Barcelona in the second leg where he thundered one into the far corner. But if you really want to have some fun, have a look at his goal he scored. I think it was in the second or first leg against Real Betis, where it's really clever. It's one of those goals on first glance you think he didn't mean it. He's out wide to the left, and he looks to bend across and it goes in the far corner. But you watch it, the replay, and it's focused on him, and you can see him sort of look up to the box, see no one's there, then look left, see the goalkeeper look down, and bend it really into the far corner. He's a great player, and based off that and what we talk about their system, Frankfurt like to get the most out of these players. They like to attack quickly, directly, as I said. They're more of a counter-attacking team. And I'd say as well, they attack in sort of quite organised fashion. Like when they're going forward, it's the wing-backs pushing high, a bit like Chelsea. Wing-backs pushing high, then the forwards up, 3 forwards up. It's just like a 3-2-5, and it's almost like a 5-pronged attack facing the opposition team. The issue with that is if you win the ball, you will get in behind. And we'll just quickly touch out of possession as well, because it's important, and it's what's caught out other teams. Pressing-wise, they're really dangerous. They've made the most pressures in the Bundesliga, which, of course, they haven't had the most possession, so that's why it's there. But in real terms, and people who don't like stats, it just means that they will try and make West Ham pass into wide areas and pounce on them. And I really mean pounce. Like they'll swarm around you and then try and directly run straight at goal. I think something as well to touch on, like the Bundesliga, I know Bayern won their 10th title over the weekend. The league's quality is in doubt at the moment. And while the players there are great, but something that's a common criticism is that teams are always going up and down, up and down. There's no Burnleys. There's no one sitting deep. But I think what's the interesting thing about Frankfurt, and what's interesting to put in context with West Ham have the potential to really grind out a win, right? I mean, you almost done it against Chelsea at the weekend. So it's going to be interesting to see if Frankfurt can win the ball and run to Areola's goal quickly enough to score before West Ham get back in an organised fashion.
And I think especially given the players we're missing and the injuries we've got, like we sort of showed the blueprint of how we're potentially going to play in this game, being you come at us, you try to break us down, you're not going to do it, and then we're going to ping it forward as fast as humanly possible. And so that's going to be an interesting style there. But I mean, Kostic, it's difficult. Like even again, like I said, I haven't watched them now. He's obviously been there for years, and I've seen him grow and become better and better. And I spoke to Gio a little bit, who watches the Bundesliga more than he watches any other league apart from the Premier League. And even he's like Kostic. And you look at the stats for not just Frankfurt but the entire league, and it's like, oh, there's Kostic. Who are their key players? Who are their danger men? And am I discrediting them by calling them Kostic and friends?
I'd say just a little, but less because not to say the rest of the team's like at his level, but it's more Kostic definitely has benefited from set pieces. He's got a great delivery, but I think Frankfurt have created just over 10% of their shots from dead ball situations, which is quite a high amount. Most teams would be below that mark, I believe.
Yeah.
But also there are some interesting players in the team. Just to quickly throw a note on, I mean, they've got the Colombian striker Rafael Santos Borre, who, to put it in the real terms, is that Colombian striker from River Plate that you haven't signed on FIFA for the past 10 years.
Sure.
Frankfurt did that, though, and I think he's only got 11 goals and assists in the Bundesliga, but he did score a thumping goal against Barcelona in the second leg.
An absolute screamer.
Yeah.
Like he hit that like he knew it was the one opportunity he's ever going to get to be in every YouTube compilation for the rest of time. He absolutely bundled that into the net. There was no other option. Really good.
Yeah, that's a great way of selling it. So yeah, maybe he'll be on that sort of hype again. The one I'd kind of look for, the one who interests me, might interest other people, because he could be a future Premier League player, is Lindstrom. He was signed from Brøndby in the summer. He's only 22 years old. He's got 5 goals, 4 assists, so nothing spectacular. But he's got a strong, like, powerful runner, really quick. And he reminds me a bit in the way of Thomas Muller, just in the way he sort of moves with the ball. So almost awkward looking, but like quite a smart player. And he plays off the right wing, by the way, in this 3-4-2-1 that Frankfurt play. It's Kostic on the sort of left wing back zone. And then you'll have, I think, Lindstrom might be on the left and Dietrich Kamada, the Japanese player, who's also good on the right. There is also a player that I think you get asked about as well, who's missing. Some would call him a key player. Others would call him a liability.
Yeah, Ndika's the player you're talking about. I mean, just before we get to that, I mean, I just wanted to pull this up because Gio said it to me earlier. Again, I was talking to Gio, and people want to hear your opinion. If you haven't already, watch the preview from yesterday. But was talking about how good Kostic is and everything else, and literally said Kostic goes high, Kamada drops deep unmarked, and they run. Lindstrom comes into the opposite box on the way to ball. Like, you can see, like, again, I've only seen highlights. I've never seen any of their fullback, but you can see the movements. And it does remind me a bit of a David Moyes style team where even in highlights, you can see exactly what we're trying to do at all times. There is that sort of rhythm of play where we're going from here to here, from here to here, and you see the movements almost every single time, that well-drilled kind of instinct, even if it's not fully coming off for them or fully being as effective as it could be for them yet, because maybe they don't have the talent, maybe they don't have this, that, or whatever. You can see the movements happening, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's really spot on from you and Gio as well to point out. Like, you can see that from when you're watching them, not only in highlights, but also like in the few games I've watched them this season, and a lot of them last season. Like, you can see when they're on the counter attack, when you would think that's when they're at the most chaotic. You can see each player, like Kostic knows where he's overlapping, Kamada knows where he's going to drop off, Lindstrom knows where he's running into, and they know exactly what they're doing, which of course is nice to watch. Downside is you could be telegraphed, and you could like, every team will, if they do their homework, will know what you're going to do. But the West Ham comparison, like, before we move on, is quite an interesting note I thought of. When you look at Frankfurt, they do. Like, West Ham have been better this year than Frankfurt have been in the Bundesliga, but they're both teams who rely sort of on a mix of possession ball and counter-attacking. They're in that nice kind of spot. Lots of players who aren't like world-class, but enough to say, oh, they're quite good. They're fun to watch. They're quite a fun team to sort of compare.
But let's get onto the sort of who's missing and the weaknesses potentially West Ham could exploit. The person you mentioned is Ndika. He's one of those names that comes up a lot. He's won the Kid and Football Manager. You know, he's one of these names that floats around constantly and has been almost an ever present in their defense as their 3-man defense. He's one of the main centre backs there, but he's missing this game through suspension. Again, all right. Let me quote Gio. Let me pull it up. Where is it? What he said? Do you think? Where is it? I've just lost it. There we go. Will Kostic's offensive impact be affected by Ndika's suspension? I feel like I want to give Gio his reps because he said it, so I'm quoting Gio directly there. Do you think that will happen?
That's a nice blend as well. It's a great point to bring up because likely what we've got is the predicted lineup on who scored as well. Unless something else happens. They believe Hasabi will come in. I believe he's 38-year-old Japanese defender.
Been around.
Yes. So, like, that will mean they haven't got the speed of Ndika, and I think the passing as well and security he provides. So that might mean Kostic does sit a bit back. So it's a good thing to point out from Gio. What I will say is Frankfurt's defensive line, something that I've noted is that they tend to push really high, which doesn't necessarily work all the time. You see him a lot running back towards their own goal in quite a panic. And Ndicka, while he's a good passer, a lot of people will say that, and he's quite physical, he also seems to be at the centre of bad moments at times. Like a lot of goals that Frankfurt have conceded, and Ndicka happens to be the guy who's been beaten by like the opposition to a header. And in the game at the weekend, I think it was, it really summed him up. He scored an own goal, got a goal, and got an assist. Like really, like that's why I was looking at him and thinking they might miss him, but in other senses they might not necessarily. And we should mention as well, the other guy suspended is Jakic, their central midfielder who's played nearly every game, Europa League. I think who's likely to come in for him is Dribble So, who's a bit more of a sort of a defensive midfielder who has potential to push up, but that might limit him as well because Jakic is a bit more well-rounded. So it is a bit more of a hit Frankfurt side, which will work because I know West Ham are missing a lot of players.
Yeah. Do you think that potentially losing someone who has, being fair, liabilities in his game, let's say, as Ndicka, might give them more defensive solidity than they might have had? Because they're obviously a team who've been known throughout the last 3-4 years for their attacking output. But do you think losing a key piece like that could mean that it's like, for example, listen, when I don't know, Masuaku, he's an example of a West Ham player who's known, he's a defender, but my God, no one knows him for anything but attacking ability. and it's like, well, if he comes out and Aaron Cresswell comes in, we might not have. And it's a bad example because everyone prefers Cresswell to Masuaku anyway. But you understand what I'm saying here. Do you think that will maybe solidify their defense, or do you think it is just a huge, or is it that much of a step down to Haspe, do you reckon?
I think it lessens the chance of like a wild moment to occur. But it might. I think it'll make him play a bit differently because Ndicka's been a regular player in the side. But at the same time, they're not going to be locked up at the back. On the other side, they've got another defender, Tuta, who's top of the Europa League, by the way, for interceptions, both in total and per 90. He's averaging like 2.8 per game, which, like, for context, everybody watching, like, you will find the players topping the Premier League around 1.9-ish. Like, it's a ridiculous amount of aggression he's showing, but it also means that he will charge out to a lot of players. And I think it was the Barcelona goal, it might have been Betis, where one of those goals where the ball was crossed. Yeah, it was crossed in. It was Barcelona, and the ball went in from the cross, but the cross only happened because Tuta charged out like a lion to close down the ball when the guy was already marked, and the ball just got played into the space behind him. So there is still that capability, even with Ndicka out, for perhaps a wild moment to occur.
Are there any other weaknesses we need to mention, again, just to give Gio his credit here? Speaking about, I'm going to mispronounce the name, Hinteregger?
Yes.
I can never. The centre back. His exact words were, "quote He moves like a combine harvester," and wants to know your opinion on whether you think Antonio's just going to be able to completely and utterly maul him in that sense because he's just so slow compared to him. Are there any other specific weaknesses that West Ham should be looking to get in? Is like, because Kostic is so good going forward, does that mean their left side is particularly weak? That kind of thing. Are we missing? Is there anything we should be like staring at and going, this is what David Moyes needs to tell them to do? Okay,
well, so first the Hinteregger thing. Yes, I don't think I've never noted he's as slow as a combine harvester, as Gio has pointed out. But watching recently, I can't remember which game it was. I guess Union Berlin they played recently, and he was a liability in that as well. So yeah, like the defense individually, not the highest quality. I think we've covered really the issues, the things that David Moyes will look to point out to exploit. But another weakness I think we should point out is, though they have had great attacks in the past, we think of 18-19 you were referencing when they beat that Benfica side, which, by the way, had João Felix, got to the semi-finals with Chelsea. They were really great attack, and with that mercurial wonder talent, Sebastian Haller, that all West Ham fans absolutely adore at the helm. Holding back kill after that. I don't know why. They've dropped off a bit from that because the majority of their shots are coming from outside the box, which means that they are quite happy to, I think they're quite happy to take shots on chance. I think that's a part of, let's be direct, let's make sure we catch teams off guard, let's not give them a chance to get organised, maybe something for Moyes to look at. but it can also be a weakness because I think if you take their crossing capabilities away, they can struggle to create clear chances. So maybe Moyes, to answer the question, going back to it, maybe the staff will be telling the defence to just try and block off the big chances for long shots that could go in, and to tell Areola to constantly be on the watch because they will take pot shots and you can't lose. You can't hesitate for a second. Otherwise, that might be the difference for a goal going in. Exactly like what happened against Barcelona with Rafael Santos Borré thundering it into the top corner.
So let's get to it. The game's happening. It's Thursday night, Europa League night, as the BT Sport advert does not stop shouting. It's the London Stadium. How without giving away your score prediction just yet, how do you think the game's going to go?
Okay. Truthfully, maybe this is a bit of English bias here, but I'm here to represent Frankfurt. So let's say it's evened out. I think West Ham will frustrate Frankfurt. I think they're very different to anything they've played. Even against Real Betis, who they came forward quite a bit. I don't think Frankfurt are used to playing a side who can have that genetic ability to sit back and defend well, like West Ham do. They're not a deep block side, of course, anymore. They're way more than that, but West Ham can do that still. So I think Frankfurt will be frustrated by that, and I think West Ham will look to expose the threat of getting in behind the defence, which without Ndicka will be slower. And I don't anticipate Frankfurt dropping deeper when they're going for the counter attack as often. I think basically Frankfurt will be hoping to give West Ham the majority of the ball, and I expect David Moyes will be doing the exact opposite. And I think West Ham will come out on top in that aspect.
But will they come out on top on the scorelines? Frankfurt have already beaten Manuel Pellegrini, former West Ham manager. Are they going to beat the man that he both replaced and got replaced by, David Moyes? What's the score prediction? What are we saying?
Score prediction in the home leg, I'm going 1-0 West Ham. And in the second leg, off the top of it, I'll push a boat. I think it'll be like a 1-1 or a 2-1 West Ham. The reason being, the danger that Frankfurt give, I don't think is anything significantly more than West Ham. I think West Ham in situations like set pieces, you watch them a lot more than me. You probably know numbers better than me, but in my head they're as controlled and as organised in that sort of respect, right?
Sure. Yeah, I would say that. Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of Frankfurt's strengths will be nullified by West Ham in a lot of ways. West Ham, just the team they are. So I think West Ham will have what it takes to get to the Europa League final, barring any sort of moment of ingenuity, chaos where it's a long shot going in or a free kick that's a wonder goal from Kostic. I think West Ham on paper and in reality will have what it takes to get through. I can't act like I don't like it. I can't act like I don't like it. And if you like it, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification button so you don't miss out on any videos, because tomorrow it's the Europa League semi-final first leg. We will, of course, be live from an hour and 5 minutes before kickoff for the build-up show. The watch-along will follow. The review will follow that, so make sure you don't miss out on anything. If you've enjoyed it, like the video. If you dislike the fact that Sebastian Haller got brought up, all your hate, send to @RedHammer8 on Twitter. I know that will sound like it looks like Geo. I don't know how that goes. You're just going to have to send it and see what happens. Thank you for watching. Come on, you eyes. We will see you next time.